Okay, so as we've been seeing, the model is looking fairly complete, but now we need to add in some more of these detailed elements. I'm going to look at this this phone table here, because it's a fairly simple piece of geometry, but it's an interesting one in terms of the modelling, and a good way of just developing on the modelling techniques we've been using with solid modelling. So I'll start by simply putting in the wall that is alongside it there. So I'm just going to use the wall tool there, and very quickly draw in some walls using the wall type I already have. So I have the brick wall type already set up, and I can just use that by choosing it from the list here. Existing face brick wall, 230mm. It may only be 110 in reality, but we don't really need to see the other side of this wall, so I'll just leave it as 230 for now. So I'm going to set it to finished face exterior. It doesn't really matter here because it's an internal wall. And most importantly, make sure the top is set to the entry level. And now I should better draw that under my stair, pressing space if necessary to flip it onto the right side, and then I can just trace. Okay, so I'll do the rest in 3D. So I'm going to go to my section box view, and okay, so there I can see the wall, but I want to see the other side of it, so I'll duplicate this view. So I can leave that one as it is, and in my new view might bring that section box down, bring this back, and take the front away. So right under the stair, I've actually got it sitting on the edge of the stringer there. Alright, so we've got a oh, it's really a slab there. And because of the way Revit does landings, I can't exactly attach the wall to that landing. So you can always just select the wall, and then I'll use Control to select the other one at the same time. And by eye, I'd say that that slab height or slab thickness is 180mm, something like that. It's not quite 200. So I'm going to make the top offset there minus 180, which will just bring that down a little bit. And then going into the stair, there's just a little thing, go to edit type, and then scroll down and find the landing. Oh, sorry, now this is a of course this is a stair with stringers, so we've done the stringers automatically, and so that will need to be modelled in. Sorry, not thinking. And okay, so what we have to do there is actually take that landing away. Right, so I don't want to go too far with this because it's not really the focus of what we're looking at. So instead, a quick way of just filling that gap in is to put a floor in there. And so I'm just going to draw a rectangle over that landing with the floor tool, and oops, so just got edit type there, make this concrete 180mm and edit thickness. So you constantly find yourself having to do these little things as you go along. But it's a nice thing to get the details right. So I'm going to make the thickness there 180 and then change this material. So remember, it might take a minute to load the material library the first time in. Yours will probably be faster than mine because you're on a local connection. I've got to go on the network. But it'll get there. Yeah. Okay, so I might come back later and spend some more time on some different materials. So for now, I'll just choose maybe concrete, precast concrete. Should look okay. Finish that. And then here it's going to ask me if I want to attach some walls. For once, I'm going to say yes there, because I do want the walls underneath to attach. Okay, so that's just going to have the other side brought out, and now, so I'm going to put that floor up on level 1. I'm going to take that down to entry. And there we go. So that's good enough for now. If you really want to, you could paint that side as well. So any exposed surfaces like that, remember you can use the paint tool. I'm going to spend a bit more time on this afterwards as well. Looking more at split face, which you can use to break up your floors if you haven't tried that already. But for now, I'm just going to go to paint. And I can choose any material. Here I've got this finish material, which is a nice default white material. I can just choose that surface there. Okay, so I'll fix up the landing later, but that's good enough for now. So really what I want to show you is the modelling, like I said, of that foam table on this wall now. So I'm going to go to model in place, the component, and set the category to casework. Okay, and then call it what it is, foam table. Sideboard or something like that. Okay, so the trick with geometry like this is to think about the plane that defines that shape. You could make it from plan by making a rectangle for the base, and then another rectangle for each side, and then another rectangle for the top, and just extruding them all up from the ground plane. Or you can do it as one extrusion, and that's what I'm going to do, by modelling it or extruding it from this wall surface. Okay, so to do that you need to use set, and I'm not sure, have I shown you this one before? No. Okay. So normally when you start using these tools, extrude, blend, revolve and so on, you'll be working from the plane that is set as default, and that's usually going to be your ground plane, or in this case ground floor. So everything's coming up from the ground. But now if I go to set, I'm going to click set, and then I'm going to use this option here, pick a plane. Okay, so that's probably the one you'll use most commonly at first. Pick a plane, then click OK, and then you can choose any surface, and I'm going to choose this wall surface just by moving the cursor slightly inside the edge of it somewhere. You'll see it'll highlight either that wall or even the end of this little wall on the left. Doesn't matter, as long as it's parallel with the surface we want to draw on. So it's like you're picking your drawing board up from the ground and sticking it onto another plane. And you click there. Now, when you've done that, the plane is going to disappear. And so to see it again, you'll see next to the Set button there's a Show button. And if you click on that, it'll show the plane as a blue surface. And that can make it a bit easier to draw on as well. So it doesn't hurt to leave that Show button on, but you can toggle that on and off as you need to. Okay, so now I'm simply going to make an extrusion. And, well, we're lucky here, we've got bricks to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10, I'm going to say there's one behind there. Well, let's say 9.5. Okay, so 9.5 times 85 will be close enough. So 807 sounds about right. Let's say 800. So I'm going to draw a line across here, and then I'll press escape a couple of times and then select it to see if it gives me a dimension from the ground. You can see that it's not doing that. So I'll go to a section view, which I already have. So you should have one as well. So it'll be your first section if you haven't made one. Section 1 should give you this view. Okay, now I can select the line, and you can see now it's going to give me a dimension from the floor. We're going to make that 800. Oops, not 80. 800. Okay, but now I'll go back to my 3D view, and I can do the rest there. So, just looking at the photo again. So the edge of the stair there is probably where this table finishes. So I'll show you a really good trick here. You can draw lines using the different shapes here in the draw panel, and they'll always go onto the surface. So the plane that you've chosen. Or you can use pick lines, and then you can either pick lines that lie on the surface that you're drawing on, or you can pick planes that are that are on the same plane. So you can pick surfaces that are in a different plane to the one you're drawing on, and it'll project them onto the plane you're drawing on. So I'm going to pick the side of this stair, the stringer there, and notice how it projects it as a straight line onto my drawing surface. Okay, so I could pick the wall over here. That one's a bit more obvious because that line or that surface is already on the edge of my plane. Now I think it maybe is set back a little bit. Let's see if we can get a better photo. Not that it really matters, but oh no, it is flush. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so then I want the depth now, so that looks like 2 bricks to me. Right, so 170. So I'm going to offset and make the distance here 170. And simply pick that line to offset it down below. Then you can use trim, join all those lines together. Now trim the corner. Okay, so then we just need to know the thickness. Right, so by eye, so it's a bit of a funny one. I'd say it's not quite 25, but it's more than 18 or even 20. Let's say 20. I think that's probably close enough. Probably a bit more. Let's say 22. So I'm going to offset here and set the distance to 22. And then you can go around picking each side. If you've got heavy line weights on, you can go to thin lines up here to hide the line weights, but that's a bit hard for you to see on the projector. And so I'll show you another really useful trick. If you want to see thinner lines but still have some of the line weight showing, try changing the scale. So here it's on 1 to 100. If I go down to 1 to 20, you can see I've still got line weights, but they're much lighter. So you don't always need to use thin lines. Maybe 1 to 50 here might be a good one. So remember, your line weight, so your scale will affect your line weight as well. So now I can keep using offset and pick each side. Sometimes it'll trim them for you, but often you still need to go back and trim them manually. You could try using tab to offset all in one go if you want to, and that'll be quicker. Okay, so we're basically just drawing the shape from the side. So if you imagine how that would look in elevation, you could draw it totally in the section view if you prefer. But I think it's a nice thing to try and make things in 3D. It's closer to the way you build things in real life. So I'm just going to click the tick to finish it. And you can see it's brought it out from the wall surface too far. It's 800. So again, just looking at this visually, it's probably 2.5 bricks. So maybe, yeah, 200 I think, something like that. So I'm just going to change the extrusion end there to 200. That doesn't look like enough. If I orbit, let's see. No, not enough. So let's try 250. That's pretty close. Okay, so can you see how with some geometry it's easier to extrude it from a different plane? Maybe just to give you another quick example, you won't need to make this, but just so you can get a better idea why this approach is necessary sometimes. I'm going to make another extrusion, and this time I'll just make a circle. So imagine this might be, I don't know, a mirror or something on the wall. Okay, so like I was saying before, this object we could have made by extruding 4 different rectangles from the ground. But a circular shape on the wall could only be made by drawing it in this plane, in elevation, in other words. And that's a fundamental principle of design in 3D. Some things need to be defined in different planes. And curves are a good example. Okay, so if you want to do curved mirrors on the wall or anything like that, just think about the plane that it's drawn in, and usually you can make it simply using the extrusion tool. I'll get rid of that. And so finally then I can set a material for this one. That won't take long. So selecting this now, I can go to the material in properties and set one of my timber materials. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, that one. Yeah, that'll do. I think 250. Yeah. There we are. So I'll finish that. And believe it or not, you can use a similar approach to do the hatch going into the kitchen. Okay, so we've got the kitchen bench there. And so again, I'll try and get a photo that shows it. There we are. Okay, so if you think about the way those profiles are set up, you could model a lot of them in 3D using a plane on the surface of that wall. but before that you need to get the opening in the wall. And you can use a very similar approach to do that. Okay, so I'm going to select, so let's just have a look at that again. Yeah, so there's no splashback actually. So what I might do first, this is only a little thing, but before, when I put in the countertop, I put one in that has a splashback there, which is normally a good thing, but in this case we don't want it. So I'm going to go to Edit Family, and just select the splashback. Simple. So I'll save that into the, I'll do it into the main library so you can all get to it if you want that one. I'm sure you can all do that anyway. Casework. Oh, does it say? Oh no, that'll just be a warning. I'll probably get the same warning. So I've got to load into project. Sure. So mine's working. So I'll have a look at that in a minute if it's not, but it should work in the end. Okay, so because I've given it a new name though, after I've loaded it, I'll need to select my original one and then choose the new name from the list there. And so remember, this is an easy thing to miss. When you're choosing families in your type selector over here in this list of all the families, make sure you choose the white part, not the grey part. So notice here how you've got the name countertop and then the size below. And the same here, countertop no splashback. That's the family. You can't choose that. You need to choose the type below, which is 600mm depth. That's taken my splashback off. That just makes room for the opening. Okay, so this is really the main thing I want to show you. When you select any wall, you then get the option to edit profile. So I've shown you this before with the wall that we did on the outside. So now with this wall on the inside, again using edit profile. Okay, so essentially what we're doing is working in elevation, the same way I just did with that solid. And so looking at the image here, you can see that the bottom of that opening lines up with the bench top, and then the two sides line up with the wall. So it's typical side art. Things are very, rational once you know how it's been worked out. So here using pick lines, I can pick the bench top, and it will project from the bench onto the wall, which is set out a little bit, but that's absolutely fine. And then I can pick the inside of the wall over here. Same on the left. The inside of that wall. So it doesn't matter where you pick it. You can see I'm picking it there at the back because it's easier, and it's still going to project to the front there. Now I'm going to need to take a guess at the height there. I don't know, it looks like it's about 1 metre, roughly. Let's say it's 1 metre. So a good way of getting that is to leave it on pick lines and then type in a value for the offset there. So I'm going to type 1000 in and then pick the line that I've already created, and it should put 1 metre above. Up here. Okay, so then simply using trim to corner, I can join those 4 lines together to make a rectangle. There we go. And as I'm doing there, it will help you a lot, especially at first, when you're working in views like this, just to orbit around to really get a good idea of the geometry you're drawing in relation to the plane it's been created in. So that's good enough. I'm going to tick finish, and that will now make the opening. I'm getting a warning here telling me it can't keep objects joined. That's fine. I'm just going to unjoin elements. So that's all to do with the wall over here, and it's because it's overlapping. Right, so that's not a problem. I can just go and fix that. So here you can see it's got that overlap. Okay, so it's fine. I can just right click on the little grip there like I was doing before, disallow join, and then drag it to the right place, and it should then let me join again. There we go. Okay, so same issue over here. This wall's misbehaving now, but I can go back and this time just use the arrow there to stretch that side to line it up again. And now it needs to be joined again. There we go. Okay, if you're worried about that little black line poking through there back into the plan view, you can try with that wall using disallow join again, and this time drag it over to here, and then yet again drag that. Okay, so strictly speaking, the bench top there should be extended into the wall cavity, but I would just model, and if you want to put that detail in, it's a nice thing to try. So you could come back to that wall profile and edit profile again, and put in a cutout for that draw. Okay, so it's what, 130 or something. So 130 down, and I don't know, 500 across. So again, just using pick lines with the offset option there. I can just type in those numbers, so 130 down from this line. Just trying to go the other way, so sometimes you've got to just orbit the view to get it onto the right side. And 500 from here. Again, it wants to go the wrong way. So if you move the cursor around, you'll get it eventually, but it might be easier to try using the offset tool sometimes. Just seems to work better sometimes. Okay, so you could go the whole hog and model in the cabinet if you really want to, but you're probably not going to see it in section, so it might be easier just to cheat essentially and put the drawer over the top to cover that hole in. That's what I'd do. You're not going to see behind it. So here again, using model in place, and again I'll just set it to casework. Okay, let's call this kitchen hatch. So I've done most of the hard work already. If I go to use extrusion and then set, and again pick a plane, okay, and then now I can choose that wall surface, and if I zoom out you'll see it's highlighting the outline of the wall there, so that's the right one. So you can see over here. Right, so that's the wall surface I want. And it's got show still on, so I can see the surface there. I'm going to turn show off now. and then using pick lines, because I've done the hard work already, I can just pick those edges that I've already created to get the outline of that. Well, I'll ask you, do you know what that's called? The thing going around. Yeah, it's kind of a frame. Yeah. Skirting, yes, skirting it would be if it was on the covering up that gap there. But otherwise it's an architrave. So that's an architrave going around that edge there, which is actually performs the same function as a skirting or a cornice, and it's covering up the junction essentially. And so the depth there, it's a fairly narrow one, so it might be 50. So I can go to use offset now, make that distance 50, and then instead of picking each line, I'm going to try this time and use tab, but picking each line will work just as well. And the depth there, 20 mil actually isn't far off. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that on 20. Tick to finish. There we are, we've got a quick frame. While I'm at it, I'll set the material to finish. So then we've got the shelf coming across there, which again I'm just going to eyeball. So rather than doing that as a new piece, I'm going to just select the one I've already made, go to edit extrusion, and draw a line across very roughly, and then afterwards have a think about the height. So it's not very high there. Let's say it's oops, sorry, I select the line, it's probably about 300, I think it's about right, maybe 350. It's just for passing plates and things through, so it doesn't need to be very high. Yep. And then it's, you can see obviously that distance is greater than the side, so maybe not quite double. Yeah, let's say I'll offset that again, 80 or 90, something like that. And split and trim. So then the doors can be done in the same family. So you can see once you get the the basic outline, you can base a lot of the other elements on that initial shape using pick lines. So again here, if I go to extrusion again, I don't need to choose the plane again because it's remembered from the last time. So I can draw a rectangle now by finding the midpoint on this edge here. Then we go up to the corner and find the end point in the corner there. Just going to orbit to get it to snap to it. Okay, now if you really want to, you could bring this edge back slightly to the right. Oops, sorry, it's going the wrong way. So to the right there, either by nudging it with the arrows or just typing in a distance, so you get some sort of overlap between the doors. That's entirely optional. And then here, I'm going to make the extrusion end, instead of being 20, minus 20. So it goes back from that plane instead of forwards, and that'll give the look of the door being recessed. I'm not going to worry about all the other little pieces there. I'm just going to put the door in. So tick to finish, and you'll see straight away it's going back. Handles we'll worry about later if ever. So again, I can select this piece now and go to the material, and I don't remember, I think I've made a yellow already. Yes, I have. Oh no, sorry. Well, we've got one parking stripe, that's yellow. Thought I made one. No, that's okay. So I don't want to do too much on materials right now, so I'm just going to choose that for now and maybe later rename it. Oh, blue I made. Okay, so I'll duplicate this one. It's better. So we'll call that paint yellow. It's really glass, but we'll make it just paint for now. So remember, if you're going to change these, duplicate or replace the appearance before you make changes. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so there we go, and now I'm going to copy that, snapping to the corner to pick it up, and then snapping to the corner of the frame to place it. So at the moment they overlap, but then I can set back the blue one even further, so I can make this extrusion end minus 40 and the start minus 20. So that way it'll start behind the yellow one. And I can just change the material to, I'll just use my blue paint for now, so I'll probably make glass versions of those eventually, but for now. Right, and so then for this part here, that's a really important piece, we've got to get the drawer in there. So firstly, this part of the frame comes across. See how I'm calling it a frame? Architrave. So I'm going to go edit extrusion and then just drag this line across, offset it 20 mil. It's not very thick, maybe 25. Trim, split on the left and then trim again. That might be too much actually, so I can bring that back down to 20. And then a good way of getting the drawer is, once this is finished, to go and make another extrusion. This time back to positive 20 for the extrusion end, so it comes forward the same way the frame does. And so that we get a little gap there, I'm going to use offset. Oh, sorry, I can't use offset here, so I have to use pick lines. And then make the offset value there, say 5 mil. So we just get a little gap. And then I can pick these sides, and here tab will work as well. So if I press tab, eventually I'll get an outline there. So I can pick. And oh, now the end problem there is that it's gone, so you can see, it's gone onto the wrong side. And it can be difficult when you're using tab to get things on the right side just by moving the cursor. So another option there is to type in a negative value. So I'm going to make that minus 5. So when I'm using pick lines, there I can make that minus 5. Not with the offset tool, but yeah, it's one of those funny little things. So make sure you realise you can either use the offset tool, or with that pick lines option, type in an offset there, and they work a little bit differently. So there, minus 5 will go in. And then again, eventually, I can tab to get. Still doing it on the wrong side. So there you can see it's gone on the outside. Let's just try that one more time. Got it. Okay, so tick finish, and there's my drawer. Now of course it's got a different material, so I'll just change that to finish. There we are. So if you really want to model the drawer handle in, you can, but that will need a sweep, and that's something I would worry about right at the end if you have a lot of extra time to think about all those little details. But for now, that's good enough. And if you want to, you could put in the glass as well. I'll show you a quick way of doing that, which will be to copy those doors you've done already. You can copy them down. So again, see, once you get the basic setup, you can get the rest of it by just copying things you've already done. So I'm just stretching these doors down. They can change the material of both of them to glass. If you want to try and set up a frosted glass, you can do that, but for now I think it's going to be fine on glass. So that's it. Done. So I think you should be able to do most of the elements that you have to model for this project using extrusions, just by modelling in different planes. Not many people have been asking about using the Revolve or the Sweep tool to make other things, and so if you need to make something more complex, though, I've got other videos on YouTube that will show you how to use all of those other modelling tools if you want to. And so, for example, here this vase is something that, well, actually you could make that with extrude as well, but Revolve also could be a good option. There's not too many other things here. Maybe the legs on the chairs, you'd need to use a blend or something like that to make those. But like I said, you should be able to do most of it with extrude. So just think about the different planes you can use, and then if you have time, remember what we looked at last week with the directions of your materials. So if you can change the directions of things like the top of the fireplace there, that would be good. And again, just keep thinking about how you can use extrude in different ways. So for example, if you want the stringers on the stairs to be exactly the way they are done here, you could turn the stringers off in your stairs and then model them just using extrusions by drawing them from the side of your stair, and then you'll get it to look exactly like the real staircase. But I'll let you work that out if you have time. Give that a go. So I'll finish that there.